Ready to rock and roll? All set, Bob?
You're on.
I'd like to open the planning board meeting for, what is today? April 9th, 2018. Members absent is George Barrett. Members present, Mark, John Cronin, Emmanuel, and myself, Mike Baptiste,
Town Planner Ken Buckland.
and Ken Buckland, town planner. Couldn't forget Ken. We knew he was here. Okay, first order of first order is minutes for March 26th. Everybody have time to go through them?
Make a motion to approve the minutes?
Got a motion on the floor to approve. Got a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. We got minutes here for February 26th, Ken, but I haven't seen them in my packet yet. Did I go deep enough?
Didn't make copies? February 26th or March 26th?
We just approved March 26th.
The ones that were in question, Ken.
That was from last week.
These have been in your packet previously.
That's the one from last week, right?
Right.
Has everybody gone through them? There were some changes to be made, weren't there?
Yeah, from the last meeting.
Yes.
The question that I wasn't attending that meeting.
Okay.
The question, if you recall, was this. I raised them.
There was a question, Manuel had a question on the definitions of lot, second line down. Okay, there are, or for any other definite purpose, right?
Yeah, this is directly from the text, although there may be a question about the content. These are verbatim from what the meeting minutes should show, because they were the wording that was presented.
Okay, also he had a question on the lot, item 2, the second line down, not less than 50 years remaining unexpired. And he had a question on that.
That's right, and again, this was something that was in verbatim from the text, so that should be represented as such in the meeting minutes. If there's a question regarding and these are articles coming up before town meeting at the end of the month, on the April 23rd. If you wish to reconsider these articles and the definitions, then you should do so at this time.
You mean now or before the meeting?
Before town meeting.
How do we do this?
Well, in this case, what you have is the articles as printed.
I understand, but look.
So, and you have a question about it, so what we should do is during this town meeting, during this planning board meeting, have a discussion item on it later on.
Yeah, if I may rephrase my question, and it could be my misunderstanding, but I'd appreciate it being cleared up. A tenancy under a written lease, the term of which is for a period of not less than 99 years, this refers to lot and ownership, of which term there are not less than 50 years remaining unexpired. What if it's 49 years? Does that mean that there's no ownership? The ownership is not valid? I don't understand the intent of the sentence.
That's what that would mean. If there were only 49 years left in the lease, typically a lease is 99 years in a commercial situation. And if there was only 49 years left in it, that would no longer meet the definition of ownership.
And is that desirable? Is that what we want?
Because we end up with an abandoned piece of property then? Nobody takes ownership of the property? Or the town does?
No, the ownership reverts to the original owner.
So the lease cannot be enforced at 49 years?
The lease can be enforced, but under the definition of zoning, it would not mean that, it would mean that the ownership is no longer with the leaseholder.
I don't agree with the intent, it seems to deny owner, you have a lease with an owner for 99 years, and when there are 49 years left to go, am I to understand that the relationship is over and the tenant no longer has right to the land?
No, the tenant has right to the land of 49 years, but under zoning, he no longer, or the leaseholder no longer has status as owner of the land.
The landowner does not have, or the...
No, the landowner, the leaseholder,
The
does not
leaseholder.
have status as the landowner.
Is this not a legal question?
Well, of course, because zoning is legal, a legal
No,
question.
no, I mean, I'm just uncomfortable leaving it this way, because if I were an applicant, or if I were a tenant with a 99-year lease, I would have a concern about what the intent of this is, and I would have to go to my lawyer, of course, but is this a standard definition that we have to stay with?
No, it's not a standard definition that you have to remain as is.
Can we just put in a real perspective here for a minute? Let's see, the town owns a piece of property, a 99-year lease was given to a golf course, right? You're saying at year 49, the leaser, right, the leasee of the golf course has lost their rights of ownership?
Has lost the
Zoning.
status under zoning as owner of the property.
So if the town decides it's gonna rezone that golf course's property right now, and they say, wait, we still wanna operate a golf course, then what happens? You void the last 49 years of your right to operate as a golf course?
No, it doesn't. You can't take, the idea is that under zoning, your status as owner only applies if you have a 50-year or greater lease. You are not considered owner, and so you would be a petitioner on the property if you wanted to do some change under zoning. If you wanted to go get a special permit
Right.
for change of the property, you would not be considered owner of the property if you only had 49 years left in your lease.
Even though it was originally a 99-year lease?
Correct.
So what's the point of having a 99-year lease?
Well, that's pretty standard for a commercial property.
But if you give up your right to,
You're not giving up your right. What you're doing is you're losing your status as owner. So that if you had a project that you wanted to propose, you'd have to get the permission of the owner in that special permit application or building permit application to proceed.
the actual land property owner?
Exactly.
Do you have a proposed amendment to this?
I do not, because I did not understand the intent of the sentence. I'm sorry, I just don't understand it. You know, it does, from a business perspective, it doesn't make sense to me. I sign a lease for 99 years, presumably I can do whatever the law permits me to do with that property for 99 years. And as I understand this, when 49 years are remaining, my right to do as I wish with that property within the law is gone. That's how I understand it. I can be wrong. This is why I say if I were in this situation, I would go to my attorney for an explanation. But it's confusing. And I would ask if this is allowed to go through now, can we kind of redo it next round when we're doing the zoning again?
Your options are to reconsider and on the floor of town meeting, make an amendment or ask for indefinite postponement of the article until you can reconsider.
Is this something that we want? I mean, we don't want to create a situation that is detrimental to the moving forward with the bylaws, revisions, whatever. So, which would be the preferred approach?
The preferred approach would be for you to feel comfortable with the definition of lot under the zoning, so that everybody else can feel comfortable as well, too.
But
Well, I
this is
have
a
a problem.
change in definition?
Yes, this is a change
Do
in
you
definition.
recall what the original definition was?
Lot, an area or parcel of land or any part thereof, not including water area, in common ownership, designated on a plan duly filed by its owner or owners as a separate lot and recorded in the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds.
So what was our purpose of injecting the number of years in here?
To get to,
Be able to regain control in the decision-making?
it was to help clarify the situation where a leaseholder has,
So, this is just, again, I think it's a good discussion, but I think you have the definition of a lot, which I agree with that definition, then there's this definition of lease terms, in which that second part applies. So I think rather than to gel these two things together under the definition of lot, I think there should have been a separate definition for, lease terms with public authority. I'm not even sure what the actual nomenclature we're trying to get to with the lease.
Dave, can you help us on this? I see you approaching.
Good evening, Wareham Building Commissioner Dave Requena. So, when I went through these, basically that definition, I went through a lot of different definitions, and I kind of mixed and matched a few just to make sure that we could capture all types of leases. If a person had a lease on a piece of property, then it's actually pretty typical to require a 99-year lease. Otherwise, if you have a 1-year lease on a piece of property, we consider you the owner, or whatever it is. It just doesn't always work. It's kind of like a catch-all. But I believe what's happening right now is if that's already done. It's already been voted on. It's in the warrant. It's going to go to town meeting. Or you guys have to do something else about that. I think what's in question right now is you guys are trying to approve meeting minutes. So this is about what happened at the last meeting, not about that definition. We can't change that definition right now at this meeting.
Well, no, I don't think we're approving meeting minutes, but we're approving the acceptance of the definition at the meeting, whether to submit it into the warrant. That's where this discussion comes from, is that we didn't like the definition of lot, or we weren't in full agreement with the definition of lot, and it didn't translate the same way to the minutes. So that's where it's being caught back again, but
well, the point is that we're in the middle of adopting or approving the minutes, and then you can take up the discussion about lot definition after doing that action.
But But the Plymouth Registry of Deeds has a definition for lot, and now we're enhancing that definition.
But that's not in question right now, Mark. That isn't the question. If you didn't disagree with it at the last meeting, then it's not an error in the minutes.
But we did, that's why we didn't approve the minutes. There was a discussion on the definition of the lot, and it was incorrectly put into the minutes. That's why it got brought back up for discussion at the last meeting.
Oh, okay.
Am I correct here, gentlemen? This is what happened here, right? So we had the discussion on the definition of lot. It wasn't recorded correctly in the minutes, so we didn't approve the minutes.
It is recorded correctly in the minutes. What happened was there was a question as to what that meant.
Okay, so you said the best course of action is for us to be comfortable with the definition.
No, the best course of action is for you to approve the minutes because there hasn't been a material change in what you discussed
But-
previously, and then go into the discussion about what you want to do for town meeting.
But before we push something to town meeting, I would just like a sanity check here. In essence, are we redefining a lot to be not the identical definition to the Plymouth Registry of Deeds?
There is no definition of the Plymouth Registry of Deeds.
Did the old definition that you just read to me?
As if something is filed on the Registry of Deeds.
Right.
They don't have a definition. They take what's filed on the land records.
On the land records?
Right.
Okay. The good news is I won't be here in 99 years, so I won't have to worry about the outcome. I probably won't even be here in 49 years. Will you be here to verify that for me?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to be here.
Ken,
And take care.
I don't recall the oral conversation of the meeting to which these refer. I don't recall when I read it at the meeting for approval, suddenly it hit me that, and the question comes up. If you're suggesting that because it made it into the printed paper, that we have to leave it be, approve the minutes, and then take it up as a separate discussion, let's do that so we can move on with the evening,
That's exactly what you should be doing.
all right?
But that separate discussion is going to have to be at town meeting because you'll need to clarify it onto the record then.
Right.
If
On the
anybody
correction to the
care- I mean,
definition.
If anybody cares.
Right.
I don't think it is, we'll approve the I make a motion to approve the minutes, okay? Let's move on. But this is not a good definition for a business person who wants to do a deal with it. And this doesn't refer to the town only, it could be two private individuals entering into a 99-year lease.
That's correct.
And why is the town inserting itself into this business relationship? The two of them,
It's not. I mean, I think we're going back into the text again,
okay.
rather than the minutes.
I'll move that we approve the minutes of February
28th,
28th, is it?
26th.
I'll second.
Minutes been, motion been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Later.
Later. All in favor?
Right.
Aye. Opposed? 3, 4, and 1 opposed.
That's the other set of minutes.
Okay.
You can sign them, George, it's fine.
Hey, Dave, you snuck one over on us.
Thank you.
Thank you for your clarification. Next order of business is an A&R for Buzzards Bay Coalition and John Deacon, Burgess Point Shores, and Winship Ave.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, Bob Rogers with GAF Engineering, representing the Buzzards Bay Coalition this evening.
You can see it.
Oh, I would just maybe direct your attention, there's an assessor's map, a small assessor's map blow up in the lower right-hand corner. That's the existing lot configurations. And then we have a series of notes in the upper left-hand portion of the plan, which also explain where each of these parcels is going. So maybe if I just work across the plan, left to right. If we start with Lot B2, map 21, Lot B2, it's being revised. The parcel that's labeled B2A, that's got frontage off Burgess Point Road. So that rectangular piece of land is gonna go to the adjacent existing Lot 2. And then we're also adding another parcel to the rear. And so basically the combination of those three parcels makes existing Lot 2 a buildable lot. And then if we go just a little further up and to the right, a portion of Lot B3 labeled as B3A, that is gonna go to the adjacent Lot 1019. And so that is gonna take care of those encroaching buildings. So those two sheds are gonna go with the house that they belong. And then Lot B3 is gonna be conveyed to the adjacent land of the Buzzards Bay Coalition.
The whole Lot B3?
Correct.
See, it's gonna be Buzzards Bay.
So that's gonna become conservation land, basically. So we're adding to an existing house lot to fix an encroachment. We're moving a couple of parcels to make Lot 2 have the buildable area required by zoning. And the revised Lot B2, we've designated as not a buildable lot. And that's due to the wetlands on the lot and the Board of Health regulations.
How many lots are we ending up with?
We don't have any additional lots. But actually, we're reduced by one lot because Lot B3 is gonna be combined with the Buzzards Bay Coalition. So we're reconfiguring 3 lots, and we're eliminating 1 lot.
You're looking to build one house is what you're looking for.
Well, I guess I wasn't involved in the negotiation. That's the result of it. We get 1 house lot, the coalition gets open space, and we eliminate an encroachment. So I think it's all positive.
Right, right.
this
So the
guy-
big thing
he's
is
just
the
building-
revised lot B2 stays vacant.
Correct. It's, that was one revision that we made after Ken's review. We added that designation on there. In parentheses, not a buildable lot.
Are these presently existing or are they proposed?
They're existing now.
And
The-
B3A is just gonna go, so the 2 sheds become part of the
Lot
existing
1019.
dwelling, 1019, yeah, so
Yep.
that's fine. Okey dokey.
This has been reviewed for the notes and content, and Charlie Rowley, also town engineer, looked at it, found it's acceptable.
Charlie has seen this one.
Okay. We'll start up that end over there first. Any questions over on the right end of the table?
No.
Emmanuel? Ken?
No.
Entertain a motion to endorse Form A for, prepared for the Buzzards Bay Coalition.
I'll make that motion to endorse.
Do I hear a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Leave that there for a signature. Sign with this one.
Next order of business, an A&R for Carl Wells on
Thank-
Dorner Road.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm also here for that one.
Okay, let's hear your case.
Bob Rogers, representing GAF and Donner Road Realty Trust this evening. So this one's a lot simpler. The plan was drafted slightly differently than what you just saw the last one with all the solid lines. So this is, we're just revising the location of the lot line between Lot A1 and Lot A2. So you'll see a dashed double dot line, existing property line. It's just above the designation of parcel A. So parcel A is coming out of Lot A2, and it's going to Lot A1. And the primary reason is, again, the Board of Health regulations, the 150-foot setback from the wetland. So we need to move that property line closer to the existing home so that a new home and a septic system can fit on Lot A1. So you see the proposed property line in parcel A and the existing property line. So it's just a conveyance of that rectangular piece to allow room for the septic system.
Any questions to my right?
Just one. So the new proposed, the proposed line gives you more distance on the frontage of Donna Road, is that?
No,
No, it doesn't, it's the same point.
Right, exactly. I should have pointed that out. There's no change at the frontage.
Okay, so
For
the
either
frontage is
one.
good then?
Yes,
What do you need, what is the frontage, 100?
150. This thing's 150 and 30.
Yeah, so 102, 47. Yeah, you're right there, okay. Easy enough. Notes all good, Ken?
And
Yeah,
Manuel,
notes are
you
all
all
good.
set? Entertain a motion to endorse Form A for Carl Wells, Dorner Road.
I move that we endorse the plan for Donna Road Realty.
Wait a second. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Next order of business. Heidi Dobbin Moss, Spring Ave.
Good evening. Mark Hebb from Hebb Builders. I'm project manager for Hebb Builders. This is Ed Glass from Existing Grade Engineering. And we're here on the continuance of Spring Ave proposal. And Ed would like to speak on behalf of the plan review by Mr. Rowley.
Good evening, Ed Glass, Existing Grade. The reason we're here tonight is two things. One, we've come quite a ways from our original proposal. That's what this is. This was the original proposal during our last meeting, 5 buildings in a semicircle. After the review of that last meeting, what we've done is we've made some pretty significant changes. We've dropped down to 4 buildings, one being a triplex, the one on the bottom left corner, and the other ones being duplexes. We still have the same travel path, which has been approved by the fire department, so we know we've crossed that hurdle. We've also designed the septic system and the stormwater drainage also. We're proposing 2 infiltration systems on site, the blue ones in the corners, and then one up in the existing roadway. Mr. Rowley has provided us with a review and a comment letter that I'm not sure how the board wants to address that. I've got written responses to verbally go through, or if you want me to hit the points that might be of a contentious nature, or we need a decision on, I'd ask the board how they want to proceed with that.
What's the pleasure of the board? Want to go item for item, or?
Well, we could just go through that they've addressed Charlie's letter.
Okay, that's pretty easy to do. If we start with number one, we are not showing a connection to Fall Street. After our last meeting, we were under the impression that there should be no connection to Summer Street or to Fall Street. Charlie is asking that there be a connection to Fall Street now. After we heard the concerns of the neighbors, concerns of the board, that's why we've left it in this configuration. So I'm not sure what the board's pleasure is in that. I thought we think we're doing what was expressed during previous meetings. By extending the road to the end of our property to the east and just leaving it as a dead end there. Should I just shoot through all of them and then we'll come back to them, or do you want to hit them line item by line?
Let's keep running through.
If we,
Pardon?
Keep running through.
Okay. Item 2 is just that it's under a full review of the site plan, so there's no response requirement. 3, no streetline monuments or property monuments are shown on the plans. We actually are showing the 4 property corners as field located. They're not concrete bounds, they're rebar and caps. So I think we've addressed that, and that was already taken care of in the original plan. Number 4, no building plans have been submitted. Plans will be submitted. Number 5 has to do with the building plans being submitted and the review of the scale and the mass of those buildings, and our response to that was plans will be submitted. Number 6 was site plan shows a total of 17 parking spots, and where we were required to have 2 per spot. Charlie assumed correctly and made a statement that we are counting the garages as parking spots. So we're at 25 spaces, more than we need to be. He also made a comment, though, that he thought we needed to add a handicap spot, and we have added one. It's been added right here. Right in this location. Number 7, a curb cut permit may be required. We agree. We'll address that when we need it. Number 8 was adjustments should be made to location of proposed water line and hydrants to avoid encroachment onto abutting properties due to construction activities. I was a little confused with this. I did not talk to Mr. Riley, but we were showing, or are showing, 2 new fire hydrants at both of our front property corners. Now, there would be construction there, but Charlie also went on to say that he doesn't want to see them in those locations because he doesn't want them on the property corner itself. We have no problem realigning those, and as a matter of fact, we're under the, we've been informed by the water department and fire department that they will tell us where to put those fire hydrants. So we're showing 2 to meet all the distance requirements for fire hydrants, but we will comply with however the fire department and water department want that. He then goes into stormwater.
Well, maybe instead of going through all the details, you can explain anyone you disagree with?
Yes, I can do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the rest you agree to, and just tell us which ones you have a problem with.
Okay. Yeah, number 1, just to speed it up, was he was just looking to find out who's going to maintain these stormwater systems. Right now, the homeowners and the landowner will maintain the ones within the property, and the one in the road, we would assume that would be taken over by the town, which is at the end of the pavement as we're providing it. So.
And we got comments from municipal maintenance.
I have not.
Well, we just.
Oh, you did?
We just did today.
Oh, okay. And may I ask how they're?
And they had 2 comments. One was that the binder needs to be 2 inches and not 1 3/4 inches as stated on the plan. and that there will be no drainage allowed in the road layout, like those Coltech chambers.
Okay. I guess two questions there. One, we can change the 2-inch binder. I just went by your standards in your details, so, but that's not, we'll fix that. Second, I don't, that could be interesting. I'm not sure how to address our requirement to pave the town road and not put drainage in the town way.
They were specifically talking about the Coltech chambers.
Okay. But I guess I'm not sure what are we supposed to do with that water? It doesn't drain onto our site because it doesn't drain onto our site now. We're paving the road, so I need to treat it and address it. So normally it would be addressed, it would be put into the layout of some way, whether it was the old way used to be a leach and catch basins. We've tried to improve it. The reason that we put it like this was that during our original meetings, we were absolutely positive that no one was ever going to allow that road to connect down through Sumner Street. That's why we put it in that location. So, I mean, we can, if there's someone we should meet with to resolve this, I'd love, we'll have that meeting.
It's not on-site water that's coming off onto town property.
Yeah, you want to take this up with Dave Menard,
Okay.
Director of Municipal Maintenance.
Okay.
Dave Menard?
Menard,
Menard?
M-E-N-A-R-D.
Very good. Thank you. I'm glad we hit that one. Number B, this one, there have been no soil investigations in an area of the stormwater infiltrations. That is a true statement, but there's a caveat to that. We have 2 perk tests done for our soil system and our septic system, and we have the information on the septic systems that was installed. Our perk tests are here. Which would be right up in this area. And there's a perk test right here on this lot that we were able to maintain to get from town records. The combination of all those perk tests have given us a profile across the site that is extremely consistent. The abutters perk test actually went 2 feet lower than ours did too, which is relevant, or will be relevant in a minute. So the question would be, is that an acceptable amount of investigation for the soils, or do we need to drop perk test in the location of everywhere that we want to infiltrate water? And I was going to ask Charles, I thought he might be here tonight, but I was also hoping that it might come out of the board too. I don't know who makes that decision.
That'd be made by Charlie Rowley.
Okay, he does make that decision.
Yes.
Okay. All right, looks like we'll have to do some more perk tests. I will get in touch with him and verify that, but that was the next item. Okay. All right, C, that was an oversight on my part. I didn't turn in the drainage calculations. I didn't realize he needed them, so he will be provided with those. D is the same thing. We have our whole drainage analysis study. I didn't realize he'd be looking at that, so I just didn't turn it in. He'll get that. E's the same thing. Okay, E's kind of an interesting one. Here again, I need the opinion, concern, or comment of the board. We did our perk test during the allotted time where the town allows us to do it. This has been a very strange year for rain, snow, and everything. And Charlie is basically saying that the perk test we did may be invalid because of the conditions that have happened since we did them, and that we need to redo them.
Was he referring to those or the stormwater?
No, he says soil tests were performed on January 1st in 2 locations. He's basically questioning those soil tests.
We did it, like Ed said, we did it within the time frame as outlined by the Board of Health. and they were Title V regulations. And we also went down to an elevation of 14 feet below the surface and encountered no groundwater whatsoever.
Were they witnessed by the health agent?
They were witnessed by the Board of Health agent, or the gentleman that, from the was he former DEP, retired DEP, that works for the town? Yeah, they were witnessed.
Okay.
He was there.
I think there's going to be two things here, that if, once I talk to Charlie, if he is going to insist on having perk tests done where these infiltrations are, then this almost becomes a moot point. We'll see what's going on right now. But where I was going with it before is that the addition of our neighbors' perk test information has allowed our perk test and soil profile to go down now 16 feet and not 14 feet. So we've gone 16 feet below ground and encountered no groundwater or any kind of redoxing or any evidence of high groundwater. So we've got a pretty good depth right now.
That property was recently conveyed, so it's, that's recent, within the last year, those perk tests on that adjoining property.
No, I'm not, I guess it sounds like I should really set up a meeting with Charlie and,
You can do it in my office if you want, yeah.
Okay.
as well.
we'll do that. That sounds good, I appreciate that. All right, well, a lot of these things then should probably be hashed out with Charlie. Let me jump to the ones that might be strictly under the board's purview. So we can skip F. G's, he's looking for more information, that's not an issue. H is not an issue. And we're into site grading. Charlie's asking that well, this one's this is kind of a Title V issue.
H, go back to H. H could be a problem if you've got problems with the municipal maintenance department or the water department, so
Absolutely.
ensure that that irons out.
Yep, no problem. Okay, site grading 2A has to do with the septic system. Is down in a little bit of a bowl here. There's two, and Charlie's concern is ponding over the septic system. There's two solutions to this. Either one I think would work. One is the one I'm showing here roughly, that will run by them, is put in a small 1-foot wide swale and put some 4-inch pipe and just pipe any water that drains here into our system. These drainage systems have been designed for that anyway. The second solution would be to approach the Board of Health and ask for a variance on cover over the septic system. This is a Presby system, and these systems are highly vented. They've got 2 vents that are specifically designed for them. Title V only allows you to have 3 feet over a system on the new design now. That never used to be an issue. But because these are vented so well, I think there's an argument to be made that we could cover this and bring it up and have it still operate correctly. That'd be a discussion with the Board of Health, I think. But short of being able to get that variance, we have proposed something that will definitely resolve this issue. Site grading B, site grading is based on 2-foot contours. Charlie's asking for 1-foot contours. I don't know where that comes from. I couldn't find that as being a requirement anywhere.
No, 2-foot contours
Are adequate.
well, unless there's a detail that he thinks is necessary to have the higher level of grading.
All right. Everything on this site is like a 2%. There's no steep slopes, there's nothing. We'll discuss it with them, find out
Yeah,
where that
when
came
it's a
from.
flat site, that makes it a little bit tougher to get the kind of grading you need unless you go to more detail with spot elevations or additional contours.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is I've provided everything. I mean, the sloping is all handicap sloping, everything works. It's graded it works, but we'll have that discussion with Charlie.
Your contours around the center are 1-foot intervals, are they not?
That's the only place I showed one for the hole, because those are proposed grades.
Would you, may I? Could you explain what happens at this central portion where you have the septic? Is it, you mentioned the vents, are these like you see pipes coming out of the ground?
Yes,
And can you eliminate the bowl by raising the grade above the structures?
possibly if Board of Health will issue us a variance. And the concept of putting more than 3 foot of fill on systems is not, it's not a new concept. Most repairs, you can go up to almost 8 feet of fill over old, leaching areas and everything, just to, that's a generally acceptable repair to have quite a bit of fill over a system. New Title V, or the latest Title V, only allows you to have 3 feet of fill. The premise of that is that the system itself vents through the soil, so that you get this, you get the reactions going on just by natural venting through 3 feet. But if you put a system underneath a pavement, you lose that 3 feet anyway. It's not a structural issue. And at that point, you have to vent a system to get air flowing through that system. Most Title V systems are considered to be vented 2 ways. You have a vent that you see in the yards, which comes off the end of the trench, and then your roof vents acts as the other vent that helps air push through that whole system. Presby, which is what we're proposing, requires a high vent and a low vent right at the system, in addition to all your building systems. So I don't think it's a reasonable request to ask for a variance to exceed the 3 feet, but it would be a Board of Health issue.
Your sway, your dip, is that, does your system have to be that low? Can the whole system not come up?
It could, but only under the way that I'd have to raise every building. So if I've got 3 feet of fill right now, I can, I should have actually, that would be the third remedy to this, would be to bring the whole site up 3 feet. Bring all the buildings, finished grades of the floors up, bring the road up, make it a little steeper. What will happen in that case is that we will end up with just retaining walls around the outside of the perimeter of the site.
And it brings you up even higher from the neighboring structures.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you were to go out there and walk to the center of this lot, the center being the high point, and everything flows gradually away from that center point, so we feel like that would be something, a route we don't really want to go down. We have to fill that whole lot wouldn't be economically beneficial.
How large and how visible are those vents?
One of them's very visible. What you end up doing, it's 10 feet. One of them has to stick 10 feet above grade. The other one is a normal vent that's 3 feet. The way you address that is you usually hide it, you tie it to a tree.
Juniper plantings and stuff.
Yeah.
We've done a similar system at our condo project in Saginaw Beach, and put plantings around it, junipers, and they're contained within the junipers, the vent system.
Can you sink it down about 20 feet?
And
10 feet?
Yeah, it's a
It's the
requirement.
design.
It ensures that there's proper airflow over the whole system.
And where on the plan would they be located?
Right now, we're showing a low vent here, and a high vent up in here, right at the D-box. Excuse me, I put it right here. So right down the middle
But-
of this site is 3 vents.
But if you plant, wouldn't the roots of the plantings interfere with the system?
As long as we keep it far enough away from the system, we'd be okay. Because our system ends here, and we have an area designated as a reserve area if we ever needed it. And we can keep it far enough away from the actual infiltration system to operate.
Can we see, when your next visit, can we see photographs of how you
Yeah, I'll bring
conceal
you
these?
pictures of the project over in Sagamore Beach. Like Ed was saying, and I don't know how familiar, I'm sure you guys may be familiar with Title V, but on repairs, they let you vent systems and go deeper than 3 feet. But in new construction, they try to contain you to that 3 feet maximum fill.
Is this the only system available to you? I'm sorry, we just did a large project with septic this way, but no vent.
The question is, no, there are other systems. Are they preferable? I do not think so at all. What the advantage, once you cross 2,000 gallons in design, Presby, which is just basically a gravity feed system through a series of fabric pipes, lets you go gravity. If you don't do that, you have to dose it. So now you get into all the piping with holes, you get into all the pump maintenance, you get into all the pumping. Just adds tremendous cost, continual maintenance down the road. I stay away from that. The Presby systems allow you to go up to 10,000 gallons.
It's also a deedite system, correct?
It qualifies as, yes, it does meet that requirement too.
And what's the diameter of the vent pipe?
The pipe, 4 inches. It's just a normal old 4-inch pipe.
And you tie it to a tree?
Or you can
But
You
have to
can put
bring a
it-
big tree in, right, okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can put it next to a lot of times what guys will do, and I've done it on sites, is we'll actually put in a 4x4 and brace that, put trees around it, and then brace it to the 4x4.
Or you can hang a flag from it.
I'm sorry?
Or you can hang a flag from it, right?
Right.
Exactly.
That's, believe it or not, that was my proposal.
I have to be honest with you, I've never seen a 10-foot vent in any property.
Okay.
Maybe because you're just masters at camouflaging it, but
You see them on repairs, but they're usually a lot shorter in height. Because anytime you do a repair, usually have to do a vent. So it's, they call it the candy cane. It's got that candy cane look on a residential house. But this one, they're required to go higher on the high end of it. But I mean, I'll bring you some pictures of the one we've done, and it all, it blends in. Like you said, put a flagpole next to it, and that's what I said. That was my first inclination. Attach it to the flagpole.
But you did consider other systems?
No, I haven't considered other systems in 12 years since Presby came on the market. Just because they can handle such large flow under such a economical system. I am not a fan of pumps. I've used pumps with Presby to get up to hills, but this is a regenerating system. They've been around. It's very easy to install. It's very clean. It's designed so that if part of it fails, you can shut it off and let it dry out, and it rejuvenates itself. Just a tremendous system. I don't get any money for saying that. I'm not a salesman.
You have any other major concerns on Charlie's list?
Water catch basin, everything else is pretty much just details.
Did you get the April 3rd letter from the Wareham Fire District from
I did that today from,
Andrew Cunningham?
David. I requested it from Chris Smith from the fire department. He said he was gonna email it to me when he emailed it to David Requena, but David said he hasn't received it yet either as of today. And I
Okay.
went down to the fire department today, and Chris was in class for 2 days.
All right.
So neither one of us have received that email. He called me and said we were all set, and he would forward the letter to David, and I asked him for a copy. He said, yeah, no problem, and neither one of us have seen that letter. I can follow up on that.
Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, it looks like they have to meet with Ken and Charlie and go over a few things, get some stuff ironed out. Doesn't look like there's a whole lot of, just a lot of details and stuff that you got to give Charlie. Nothing, I don't think it's anything earth-shattering. The only thing I want to get to, Mr. Chairman, is I had voiced my concern back in the beginning about the number of units, which I believe started at 10. I see that there's 9 units. I still I'll give you my 2 cents. I don't have a problem with the project, really, if you guys approve 9 units. My firm belief is it should be 3, 3, and 3. It just gives you more space in between everything. You're putting 10 pounds in a 5-pound bag to begin with, so it probably wouldn't hurt just to separate it out a little bit. So you have a 92-foot span for the 3 units. So it'll be 90 feet in the back, 90 on each side, gives them a little more green space around the area. That's the only problem I have with the whole thing. Other than that,
Yeah.
they're gonna get what they need to do to make it financially feasible. I think they could get away with less units and make it financially feasible, but I'm not here to hit them with a stick. But I just think that 3, 3, and 3, just give more room around everything. That's really the only problem I have with the whole thing.
We spoke on that previously before, and marketability, those middle units, we're still having a hard time over in Sagamore Beach with the marketability of those middle units with no garages. So that's why we had gone this route. We were
Right. So
we were
what,
willing to have one.
so what about the 3 unit, make that a 2, then you'd have 2, 4, 6, 8. Still gives you some more room around
Get
it.
into, then you get into, David's not here anymore. You can get into issues with fire suppression, and it incurs a lot more cost because of square footage, cubic feet.
I'm sorry, I thought he asked 2, 2, and 2.
Yeah, if the 3rd unit is not marketable, make that 3 unit a 2, so you'd have 2, 4, 6, 8 units.
How many with garages?
All of them would have a garage if you went 2 units, because the 2 units on your left, that has a garage and a parking space, right? And then the other 2s each have a garage, so if that 3 unit became a 2 unit, you'd have a garage in each of those. You'd have 8 units on the site is what you'd have. And,
Now, are you talking 8 units as opposed to 9?
right. Because you don't like the market. My 2 cents was have 3 buildings with 3 units, and you don't like that, because it's not marketable. But if you had 2, I'm just looking for the space that you have. So at the point, you have 34.69 feet between the 2 buildings on the left. And then you have the water underneath. So is that all loam and seed over that subsurface drainage?
Yes.
Then you have 24 feet in between the 2 buildings. Well, that's not really a lot when you have parking spaces out in front of it. And then you have, well, you don't have a distance, but I'm going to assume it's around the 30 feet in between. I'm just looking to little more green space in around the units would be good, in my opinion. But, Mr. Chairman, that's the only problem I have with it. I was against the 10 units. They've cut it down to 9. If you guys are going to accept 9, so be it. I just think if push comes to shove and they're concerned with marketability out of the gate, just make it a 2 unit. 8 units down there would be fine. It's a nice little neighborhood.
I wouldn't want to give up any more units. He came in with a proposal for 10 and
Yeah.
reduced it by 1. And
Yeah.
you guys, I appreciate it, but you guys don't see the numbers, and the numbers.
Do it for a living, my friend. I understand how it works. I understand how it works.
You can also, I grant you that, but we don't know the numbers. The middle unit is not a terribly desirable unit. If that were not there, if this were a duplex building, it would be enhanced over, I think there would be a general enhancement, as John is pointing out, more space between them, more green space. You would be losing 1 unit, which in itself,
I do not believe there's anything in the zoning that states that we can't be this close between buildings.
no, it's a matter of
Yeah.
what looks right, and what makes the project more appealing.
Right.
And as John says, we don't want to not see the project, but would you please consider the 8? I mean, the marketability impact of more green space, smaller building. You have, when you come back with the architecturals, or we hope that we would like you to come back with 3-dimensional views and within the context, so we can see how they relate to the neighboring structures. So if this triplex becomes a duplex, it enhances, it improves the whole project, we believe. Granted that we don't know the numbers. But I think,
Well, you have been supplied the elevations and the floor plans from the previous meetings, not in this package that was submitted to
Correct,
Charlie, but from the previous meetings.
but we do want to see three-dimensional views of them, as well as how they relate to the neighboring structures, please.
Right.
And within the context. So anyway, yeah, I agree with John in that I think the overall project would be improved market-wise, but we don't know the numbers.
Well, I think that could be a sticking point with that, you know, it's one thing to have, at least with the three unit, yeah, one of them doesn't have a garage, but at least it's, you know, it would have to be priced accordingly as opposed to the other ones, so at least there's room there to make money off of that unit, in the big scheme of things, but, I will talk to my brother about it and express your concerns, and, I thought, you know, by going from the 10 to 9, we kinda got a feeling that's the way that you were, requesting before, so that's what we've shown here, but I'll certainly, convey that to him. In the meantime, should we set up a meeting with Charlie in response to?
You can take care of all the issues on the list, yeah.
Right.
But the thing is you go with the concerns with the numbers. I think you can resolve a lot of the issues and still play around with, you know, 3 versus 2 on that building on the lower right, left-hand side.
Does any of that have impact on the system or anything? It doesn't,
Makes it a little smaller, but not,
does it get below the number?
no.
So the pipe, instead of being 10 feet, it can be 8.5.
No, it's still 10.
Can we get back to the discussion on opening up that road to, is it Spring Ave,
Fall Street?
Fall Street? So, I guess one of the questions I have is, have you got any more feedback from the abutters? Was they just that one time they voiced their concerns?
Personally, I don't know if Ken has.
No.
No, I think it was just the first meeting they came to and expressed a concern about they didn't want people there. And then I was the one who brought up that they should at least pave to the end of their property, because I believe you were holding back like 60 feet or something like that. So I had brought up that they should at least pave to the end of their property. If that doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Is Charlie mentioning now, Ken, that he wants them to do something on that Fall Street, like, you know, pave into it, similar to what they're doing at the other end?
Well, that was the question, is because of how close it is to the pavement that's
Yeah.
existing there.
Yeah, so I think you guys can work that out with Charlie. I mean, I don't have my heart set on it. I just know you know, when we do a facility, we pave to the end of it, you know? I mean, Makepeace just did that big facility, the medical buildings, and they paved to the end of that particular lot. The rest of the road is still dirt, similar to what you have. If Charlie comes up with something that you hold back a little, you hold back a little. The blue detention basins that are up on the right on that road, when I saw that, before I read through all these letters, I was saying to myself, I don't think the town's gonna let you go in the road. In case by lightning, someone comes through and builds after you, you know, it wouldn't be the first time you heard that. So that may have to be addressed from the letters that I read from you know, municipal maintenance, the water guy, and then Charlie. So you'll have that discussion with Ken and Charlie anyway. But I don't care, Kenny, if you guys want to change that a little where the pavement doesn't have to go down as far, then you're not addressing anything at Fall Street, and the neighbors would probably have no problem. I think if you start to put in, you know, an entry like you do on, was it Spruce Street? Is that the first one, is Spruce Street?
Correct.
How you put, you know, they might look at it as, well, now everybody's going to buzz by these new houses and turn around in front of my house, where maybe they'll just turn around in your lot. Again, I don't have my heart set on it. I have no dog in the fight, so if you can cut that back, maybe he'll let you cut it back.
Well, what's happening is, it's paved just past Spruce Street right now. The road is paved past, it's just past the, actually, it's paved all the way up to about here.
Right.
So this was just kind of a repair and tie-in of the new pavement that we're doing.
Gotcha.
But my understanding and recollection was that there was absolutely no way that the neighbors weren't going to go crazy if we tried to go all the way to Sumner Street, and we never proposed that. But that there was also, at some point in the past, someone from Fall Street had had a problem with tying in from that location. So that's why, in that second meeting, we had pulled it back, and then after hearing your concerns and the boards, we went to the, back to the.
Yeah, well, again, if that becomes a sticking point with the drainage or what have you, Charlie and Ken, they may have you pull it back a little. That's,
Well, the sticking
greater
point
minds
with,
than mine will look at that with you. I don't,
okay, the sticking point with the drainage will be, is it the location that it would be under the center line of the road going forward? Or is it that it's in the right-of-way?
I think it's in the right of way.
Well, that's a major sticking point, because how do you pave town property, and where do you put that pavement, that drainage?
For the drainage.
Yeah, well, I think that's why you're gonna have a meeting with these guys and
Right.
go over
Yeah,
that,
we'll
like
have
I
to
say.
go pull in Dave Menard on that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Get the municipal maintenance guy down there, whatever you gotta do is,
I mean, because these systems are meant to be driven on. That's what Charlie's comment is, you picked that up.
Yeah.
You can, they're designed to be under parking
Charlie
lots.
picked it up and municipal maintenance said they don't want it in the road.
Right. And I hadn't heard that, so that's.
Well, you'll read all that. I mean, we just got them today as well, but they're
Appreciate it.
dated the 3rd and 4th or whatever, so
Okay.
we can go over that. So that, stuff like that, Mr. Chairman, I think Kenny and Charlie and the team here will work out. I don't think there's really much else. I mean, I just remember the neighbor to the right came in for an in-law apartment and was refused to put a small addition on his house, and now these guys are gonna dump all this in there. To me, it just, but zoning is zoning, and they'll use it to their benefit. But, so I only have the one complaint, Mr. Chairman, is that I think, in my honest gut opinion, is you'd have 2, 4, 6, 8 units. Then the markability question comes out in the middle, gives you a little more room in between. I think they'll be fine. I think they'd be the first builder to ever come to Wareham to start at 10 and not go down. So, and
9 is down.
yes, sir, it is. Yes, sir, it is.
The only, my concern is, and I know it's not your concern, but it costs a lot of money to go from 10 to 9. Plans, time,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
now to 8.
Yeah.
Everything's gotta be revised again. I'll run it by my brother.
Yeah, no, I understand what your concern is, but your drainage calculations and all your stuff that you don't have on the plan that you're gonna give to Charlie aren't gonna change if that center unit comes out of that. It's just gonna give you more room around everywhere else, so. But, take a peek at it. I mean, you can, like I say, I guess the other, you'd have to poll the others. I mean, I myself would vote for 8 right now. You'd have to see how the rest of the board feels. I 14 years on zoning, I saw 40Bs come and I saw them go. I saw these little developments come and I saw them go, and quite frankly, in, 14 years there and 5 years here, that's 19, then selectmen and then recycle, I saw it. I gotta tell you, 8, you'd be happy, make your buck and get out. That's just my honest gut opinion after 19 years sitting on these boards. It's what's the benefit of everybody. You got neighbors down there
How many, all due respect, how many years you've been sitting in the seat?
in that seat.
Yeah.
Well, this is my,
Writing the checks.
well, I write some small ones, probably not as big as yours. Now, I got 37 years building buildings. I know what
I
you're
hear what you're saying. I'd like to hear from the other members, if you don't mind.
Manuel.
I've been in that seat,
Yeah,
and we have come down.
yeah.
You have what?
We have come down.
Right, so 10 minus 1 is 9.
We went in with 10, knowing we'd end up with 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, respectfully requested that you consider the 8.
I will talk to them.
It'll be
I kind of go with the rest of the board. I like to see the numbers reduced. I thought 8 was too many, myself personally, but like I said, I'm not in the
Yeah.
business of,
We're gonna have to crunch the numbers again and look at it. I mean, it's like, every day, it's just more accrued cost.
Mark?
Well, first, I appreciate you making the effort and bringing it down to 9. I guess in my mind right now, I guess visually, I'm over on the West Wareham side, and they put in a development that was similar to this. I guess the fundamental difference, was it Cornerstone? Is that what I called it, or is it Fieldstone? I just want to look this up.
Cornerstone.
It's Cornerstone? Is a lot size comparable to this, I think. It was a little different approach, but I'd say the difference is there's so much road frontage in this design here, where that development is pretty much hidden behind a tree line with a single entrance point in. So I understand the aesthetics piece of it. I think there's something to be gained in green space by reducing down that one unit. I don't know if there's that much to be gained from that. You know, I guess myself, I'd feel a little more comfortable that we just weren't opening this up to a farm field in the neighbors, because if you look at the current aesthetics of the neighborhood there, it is a very wooded area. I just see I'm just envisioning in my mind, the entire lot gets cleared and then 4 structures are put up on there. And that's what these neighbors are looking at. So can you talk a little bit about the preservation of the existing trees there right now and what you're going to replant there?
There's a landscape plan that was included in the plans, and Ken spoke today to the landscape architect regarding some of Charlie's issues on there. I believe the only plantings that are being proposed would be in the front of the project, in front of the septic system there between Spring Ave and the Presby system. And then the rest of there is landscape plans included in this package that was supplied to you guys. Does that answer your question? Or-
Yeah, I guess,
You are
I was
correct.
just trying to
though.
get the aerial again, but.
This does show pretty much a complete clearing of the lot,
Yeah.
and then a replanting back.
You know, so I think that's,
Minimum replanting of the lot.
Yeah, there's a landscape letter, it's,
guess you guys were, you know, if you were to look at how this parcel was designed there, it's so well hidden. And I did drive down here after you came through the first meeting, but can any of the tree line along the road be preserved?
Possibly.
If
Possibly,
you know,
yes.
for me, driving down this road, if I was just looking at 2 asphalt openings, they look like 2 driveways that were leading into a separate subdivision there, and I'd be very comfortable with that. But, you know, considering I just drove up from Pensacola, Florida, and I looked at every piece of lot cleared along 95 and the whole East Coast, it just, it just pretty much irritated me all the way through. So-
We can definitely look at that.
So I can appreciate the engineering. The 3 foot on top of the septic system, I think you gain some from that, but it still is not gonna eliminate 7 feet from sticking above grade in that pipe. And I'm confident you guys can camouflage that and we won't even know it's there, knowing what we can do with cell towers. So that's a little concerning to me. So I think, right at this point, I think that it's a compromised position. You came in with 10, you got down to 9. I'd like you to consider what the board is saying, but I also understand the economics of doing this. The last question I had for you is, what is your target occupant here? Is this who's typically buying these type of units? Who's buying them in Plymouth right now?
They're not deed restricted, so bless you. They're not deed restricted, so
You typically finding,
from past experience or.
yeah, small families in there, retired community?
We haven't, over in our project in Bourne, we haven't seen any families yet. All mostly empty nesters and single mothers.
Yeah, because what were we at, 1,200, 1,500 square feet here with these units?
Units are a little, 15 plus.
Yeah. All right.
If you look back here, you did see the landscape plan that shows plantings on, in front of the septic area along Spring Street.
Yeah, so that's the type of coverage I was talking about, just to make sure they're not, you know, we're not looking at 18-month-old shrubs and saying they'll be there in 18 years. So I know that,
I don't know if there was you had the conversation today, is there any issues regarding that conversation, or did you feel that he was,
He sounded responsive and that he would be putting in the additional plantings.
okay, so you had a conversation to that?
Right.
Yeah, because I think otherwise you'd be clearing pretty much your whole lot, and you're banking on whatever trees are left on the neighbor's side
Yeah.
for your buffering. So then as far as 10-foot zones or what have you go, you'd have to see what the landscape guy and Charlie and yourself work out. Maybe you throw a couple of things behind each unit, I don't know, but
Yeah.
I hate to see, I've seen it before. I remember Fonzie there, remember when Fonzie did his buildings down there? Hundreds of acres of woods, and zoning made him put 10 feet of shrubbery, and I voted against it, but they made him put all kinds of plantings in there, and it makes no sense to me. So I don't really have a problem. Again, I didn't have a problem with you clearing to your lot line and expecting to utilize the woods that are there as your buffer zone. But you may have to supplement and add some shrubbery or something behind the units or whatever,
Right.
just in case.
That would all become part of the condo association as far as maintenance and.
Sure, yeah, well, I mean, Kenny and Charlie are pretty good at this. They'll iron all that crap out with you, so.
Yeah, from past experience, doing, just finishing up a 122 lot subdivision in Bourne and a 60 lot subdivision in Bourne prior to that. You go into these large tracts and clear cut. Basically now, you know, it's basically, timber, it's trees that are been in a forest or protected by other trees. So then when you open stuff up, the trees, I try to always preserve trees along property lines. Not so much the pines, the scrub pines, because those are more like a weed to me. So, you know, I'd always do these house lots, preserve the trees along the property line. 5 years later, people are cutting them down. So it's like they get exposed to the weather, the wind that they weren't always exposed to, and a lot of them are just big overgrown, old.
Last couple of storms have proved that. I'll
Yeah,
tell you.
so you try to do the right thing, but I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right, so if we can set up a meeting with Charlie and maybe Mr. Menard from the DPW, and
So you should be ready to come back in 2 weeks,
are you here in
next
2 weeks?
meeting.
Well, our next, 2 weeks from now is town meeting.
Shit. After town meeting. You should be able to come back with,
Yeah,
you and your brother are gonna go to peace and say, yep, eight'll work, everybody be happy. You're gonna make Charlie and Mr. Menard happy. And,
everybody's gonna be happy.
yeah,
Never happy.
what would be your intended construction schedule on this? Would you start the season?
You know, obviously, we're in the season, so sooner the better. Like the-
I mean, it's possible you could have a meeting before town meeting. Have a session, meet prior to town meeting.
you mean really like we normally do?
Yeah,
So like 6 o'clock
right,
on a Monday?
on a Monday.
What's the board's pleasure on that?
Well, I mean, I think I think that's fine if the applicant is all ironed out with Charlie and Ken, we'll sign them up and get them going. I mean,
Where would we meet, at the school or here?
School.
At the school.
yeah, at the school.
If it helps them out.
Yeah, that helps you out. We can hold it.
Entertain a
2
motion
weeks
to
before.
continue this to possibly prior to town meeting.
Well, I will make a motion that we continue this hearing until, what's the date?
23rd.
Till April 23rd at 6 o'clock at the high school, provided the applicant and Ken have their meeting with and Ken says it's good, otherwise they'll just ask for a continuance, and we won't have to go through all the wheels. you know.
Okay, second on that?
Yes,
You'll
second.
set that up, Ken? please?
Yeah.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye,
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
2.
All right. Good thing you guys are here. I need a drink now. Good thing you're here. I need a drink now.
We used to have a refrigerator, maybe it's in there now.
No, I mean a real drink.
Oh.
Yeah, can you follow up tomorrow?
All right, thank you very much.
Next on the agenda, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Oh, I changed my mind on this one.
Is one of those yours?
It was mine, yeah.
Seth Toby Realty Trust, 1618 Seth Toby Road.
So how'd we do? You got everything ironed out? You
I think we do, actually.
Good, yeah, good. Nice to see you get started.
And we do have some handouts. Start with the easement and the easement plan, which is fully executed, believe it or not.
Knew you could do it.
Deadlines are amazing things.
Aren't they? Aren't they? That's great. Thank you. See what can be done when you really want to do it. You know, just.
Gentlemen, go ahead.
Okay, you would also ask for some color 3D renderings, so
Yep.
we have those.
Is this your only project you're working on at the current time, or?
The only project?
Yeah.
I wish.
There you go. See that? A picture says 1,000 words.
What happened
Thanks very
with,
much for doing this.
we thought there might be a zoning
Annual, I know
board
them
issue.
people walking in there.
That's it. That's the important thing. We gotta have people.
Property.
Oh, you're very welcome. Yeah, so the shot from onto the roof is there, so you basically can see that any mechanicals we put up there would be camouflaged by the facade.
Great. Okay, I move we approve the project. So, Emmanuel, it didn't seem like this was this difficult for this applicant. Why is this so tough for everybody else to give us a picture of what it's gonna look like?
No, we're going to be demanding this.
This is,
Requesting this. This is the only way you can evaluate.
like the parapet, you know, the second page that you're giving, you know, where any units possibly would wind up, you know, you show the screening, I mean, how
Helps a
hard
lot.
is this?
We don't have to use words anymore.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
No, you're very welcome. Probably should have thought to produce that at the beginning, but there's so much that is produced that, you know, you sometimes miss the forest for the trees, I guess, in a
well-
way, you know, because you,
Very nice effort.
well, I mean, it actually helped me. You know, I mean, I thought I knew what I was looking at, but it, on the plans, but it's certainly, you know, it's certainly nice to have that. So, anyway, Dick, do you want to, Dick?
Turn his hearing aid up.
Hearing aids. Dick, do you want to proceed? You've got a plan you want to hand out?
Yeah, I brought them to the printer today, and I just got them, and I just unrolled them, and I was
It's all right.
disturbed at how light they came out. That's what I was just looking at, these are the basic plans based upon the new layout, the new entrance that we have. And
it doesn't. We also, we were gonna put a main parking light here and one down here, which we have a guy up in New Hampshire now. I thought I'd have it tonight for you. That would actually show us the limit, the whole pattern of the lighting in here. We also wanted to put 2 decorative lights going right into the entrance here. The other thing shown on this is a proposed sign right in the corner here, okay? What's kind of funny is they both came out with
Copy up here.
and yet this plan is
No.
Second page, it's all
Do
right.
you have another copy?
Yes, he does, yeah. Dick, Dick.
Do you have another copy?
Oh, yeah.
Send them up on the right over here.
To the members. Distribute them to the members so they can.
Oh, yeah, I was going to, but I was.
Well, you were describing it, and some of them couldn't see.
So your lighting, you want to just make sure that your lighting stays on your,
Correct.
that's all we,
Which it
especially
will.
along the roadside, if you have a light,
Right.
you know, don't let
Right.
it shine.
There is a, to Dick's point, he's pointed it out to me several times, there is a street light right across the street, which does light up the area, but there probably would be one parking lot light on that side, so.
We even I used to do some classes with Ted Benson, timber frame housing. Sessions when I was up in Chelsea. And even some of them old timers, when they started using CAD, they were pretty amazed at what you could do.
Okay.
That's all right.
What happened?
All right, so the main entrance is here.
Yeah, the entrance comes right in.
Yeah, I can see it right here, yeah.
Yeah, you can barely see it. It comes right
Like I said, when I worked in it, we were probably
across here like
one of the
this.
East
Yep.
Coast using
Yeah, I
CAD.
see it.
And then the other side
It's right there.
down here comes right across
Yep,
like this.
that's fine. And where are the decorative lights that you're talking
It's
about?
pretty busy.
The
but
main
You
parking
don't have
lot
to
light
build
is
it, so
right here.
I look at
Okay.
this right
That's
here.
one. The decorative lights are right up here near the property line.
Okay, the island, all right.
And then we have one more decorative light we're looking at down here.
Okay, and that's the one near the road, you need to make sure it just shines in.
That's right.
Okay.
And the other one is, on top of this one here,
Is a street light,
is a street light.
right, yeah,
There's a pole and there's a light on the street light right here.
gotcha.
We'll get some benefit of that.
We gotta change our rules and regs, so
Right over
here we
here,
go
one
back
over
again
there.
when we talk about design standards. And, right, and we.
Yeah,
we
no,
can
that,
request
that's
it.
fine, it's just what happens is, when they put those wall packs on the back door, and there's a neighbor, 50 feet away, and you're lighting up his living room.
This grade goes way up, this is J.C. Penney.
Yes,
There's no way that light's gonna be visible anywhere
Perfect.
more than 25 or 30 feet beyond that.
perfect.
Okay. Now, I also have a plan.
We have to say it, because what happens is sometimes there's a house next door.
Understood.
And those wall packs,
I know.
I can't sleep all night because the light's on.
I understand.
so.
They took care of that, the houses are going.
Well, yeah,
This is the main, no problem with the whole area.
is this what we already did, you just showed us?
Yeah, that's the bigger sheet I have.
Oh, it's a bigger one.
That's the newly comped up plan.
We've got the full 24 parking spaces on here,
Okay, good.
and I've got an
This,
extra
this was a win-win right here.
need, under the
Amazing.
Give it back.
And an extra 150 square feet.
site, which can be used for such
And
an overhang.
we've tried for years. We knew a project was coming, we should say, why don't you talk to the neighbor? They didn't want to talk to the neighbor. Further down Cape Cod
It's
Truck,
still be under the 65%.
they beat us up,
Right.
and then the guy with the solar panels is, he says,
What we tried to do.
I still think these foolish
they
islands
don't wanna
are,
be bothered.
I
Oh,
will
couldn't really, I never let it stand it. You can request it.
Yeah.
and you get old guys like me drive over the damn curbs all the time.
Now you can hit the light.
Okay.
Today, I'm going to get the electrician, not the electrician, the light guy, to give us that. I was hoping I'd have that for you tonight.
Well, that's all right. I don't think you have a lot of site lighting, as long as it stays on your property.
I also had to get the architectural, because I decided to do such a map, and I
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks,
No excuses, just, that's part of the job here. Anyway.
Hey, when this is done, you can kick back and have a nice cold
Yeah,
beer.
yeah, right.
Yeah, you can stop in and have a
Exactly.
nice cold one.
That's right. There you go.
Stop at Pepin's, they're down the road about 2 miles.
I think we're in great shape.
Well, I appreciate I'll tell you, getting right on the easement agreement with your neighbor. I mean, that's a big plus. Your insurance, looks like you're both gonna have the insurance, covering yourselves, and I thank you for getting on that so fast. And I thank you for the 3D. I mean, I look at floor plans all day for a living. Some people don't. And you see the
Right.
glass, and you say, well, is it gonna be glass? How high is it? And
Understood.
so I think Manuel has impressed this upon applicant after applicant, and they all sit there in a daze, like, well, why would you want to see what the building looks like? I mean, I don't get it, so, thank you so much, appreciate
Yeah,
it.
Thank you.
And compliments, well done. One question.
Yes, sir.
What's the purpose of this large bulk up here?
The bulk? Well, basically, you've got the facade, and you're creating
See this?
the area to hide any of the mechanicals.
Oh, you already got a peek.
Oh, well, that's, I think they're just showing you the back side of the facade there. Well, that's all it is. It's, yeah. Well, I appreciate that, yeah. Well, that's how he's created that front shed roof there, basically, so.
Being a little creative.
Maybe
Is
we can save a little wood there, I don't
Well,
know.
is there a second floor office or anything, or a second floor
Well,
storage?
there really wasn't. At one point, and maybe that's where it came from, at one point, we did look at a mezzanine there, but ended up, it wasn't going to be big enough to warrant all the work that was, or expense, I guess I should say, in creating it. So maybe that's where it came from, but we are trying to generate a little bit of height on that side because it's going to get racked on that. That's the warehouse side.
Well, I see the storage, you see the
Right.
storage room on the plan.
Right.
And then you look at the facade, and I know Manuel's thinking, why do you need that big bump up?
Right.
But in case they wanted to go high with racks or...
I will ask that question.
Thank you very much, nicely done.
Thank you.
Do you need dormers on the backside though, facing?
Well, that's actually visible. I actually asked them to dress that side up a little bit because you are going to see it coming through that parking lot. So I, hadn't really anticipated that until they started construction over there. And I went over and I said, wow, the backside of our building is actually going to be pretty visible. So,
But those dormers are fake. I mean, there's no floor there, is there? Or they're, excuse me, do they bring light to the main floor?
no, not to the main floor, no.
It's waste, why not get light into the main floor from those windows?
Well, I mean, we've got to be able to get our product somewhere, so that's the cooler side. On the back, that's where the cooler is on the main floor, so, we don't need a lot of height in that cooler. We're just cooling more space if that's what we're doing, so.
In your sign?
The sign shows on the landscape plan, which is, it would be up towards the,
Be up here.
towards the entrance off of Seth Toby.
We actually, right about here,
Okay.
it's shown on a few things it's actually shown.
Oh, there you go.
Came out,
There you go.
okay. This is West Toby Road. This is the entrance coming in, and it's right,
Here's the arch, yeah.
that's the entrance coming in, around here. This mailbox, every time I went to that site, it
Not a
changed.
cement block building.
I
with
went
no
up to
carrot.
25th, and it was about 5 foot of, snowbanks.
Right.
For that. But this is the sign here we're proposing. For that reason, we're gonna pull this back some, but we really didn't have to. We can still do what we were, planning on doing. But all this, like this mailbox, these trees, they're all gonna be relocated.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, perfect.
And we just wanna make sure we're discussing with them, the people on this side.
Yes, sir.
The materials that are shown
Right.
are pretty representative
Yeah, it's,
Maybe have one conversation going at a time so we get the minutes clear.
My apology.
Dick, you're
Just have one
good.
conversation at a time. And you had your conversation going over here, and there's another one going on over there.
You should have been at the last meeting, Ken, yeah.
Well, that's why I'm here
We got a
now.
lot done.
My hearing,
We can rely on the look.
Yeah, I mean, that's you know, it's a stone product, you know, the stuff that's cut in the back,
Yeah.
Okay.
and mounted, and that's a shingle. That's just
looking building,
that's
though,
a
and
Cape
forever.
Cod shingle.
It's well detailed.
Hey, it's better than Brown's, like a blob.
Great.
What's the board's pleasure? What's the next,
Well, one of the things you can do is well, while the hearing is still open, is discuss the conditions. We drafted up a possible draft site plan review approval decision. We have standard conditions in there, including the requirement for the easement to be obtained, which has already occurred. But you may want to talk about whatever other conditions you might think appropriate to the approval.
Well, I read through this list, I really don't have a problem with it.
Mr. Chairman, just before you close, I just want to throw in, you gentlemen had commented about the easement. I just want to say that the abutter obviously was very good to work with on this. You know, I certainly made it clear that you folks had stated a clear preference for that approach, and they were very responsive, and obviously, I mean, to get this done in a month is pretty unusual, as you probably know, so they were very cooperative, so just so you know.
Right.
Mark, you all set over there? Any questions?
Just make sure you have enough limes for the Coronas when you get there.
Yeah, I got a question about the Coronas. How do they get the lime out when they recycle the bottles? Is there somebody there with a hook that pulls them out?
Yeah, there's a special machine that does that, yeah.
Once that glass
Yeah.
breaks, they're gone.
I don't think Coronas, so I don't know.
I don't, I did try one once, it wasn't my,
Are you guys gonna carry Schlitz?
It's unlikely.
my first beer as a kid, I switched.
Right.
This one.
You probably don't want to see that today, although I know it's making a comeback, but sort of.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're all,
Great job. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
John?
No, I'm pleased.
Manuel?
I appreciate the
Yeah,
efforts.
I would like to say thank you for
Yes,
your
sir.
effort, and my first time on the board where I'm very satisfied with what's presented, and to me, it sets a standard for what kind of presentations we should be receiving, so thank you.
Thank
Are there
you.
any conditions that you want to put on, you think of?
Just make it look this way.
Yes, sir.
So we'll reference the plans, that,
Yep.
the architectural plans, and they've been submitted as well.
So if everybody's happy and there's no add-ons to the conditions, we'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So move.
Second.
Motion made and been seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The vote is 4-0 to close the public hearing. I think next order of business is, you need a motion to accept the conditions as drafted.
That's right, the decision is drafted.
I would make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we approve the decision that's been written. It's, I don't see a date, but it was from Ken, I suppose you did this, right?
Right.
So the list of conditions, the site plan review approval decision, I make a motion, we approve it.
We're here second.
Second.
Second by Manuel. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
Vote is 4-0 to accept the conditions as written.
See if you can sign.
Oh, jeez.
Once they record this, what's it, 21 days, is it? They gotta wait?
20 days.
20
yeah,
days,
The
yeah,
21st day,
so-
you can pass over to Manuel to sign here. Gentlemen.
Be throwing that around.
So when's the houses going? Next week?
I think Mr. Hamlin was running around getting the department sign-offs for the demo permit today, so I think he turned the paperwork in today, so as soon as we get a permit, pretty much right after that.
Oh, there it is.
So Ken, we're all done. You'll have to get in contact you within, what, 20 days?
Right,
After
well,
you get
after this
built
is
there,
filed
we'll-
with town clerk, then you can stop back in and get the certification from the town clerk that the 21 days have
All right.
passed, on the 21st day. You can go get your building permit.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Appreciate it very much. And obviously, we're going to have a lot of contact going forward as the building goes up. So if there are any issues that people have, obviously, we plan on being in this town for quite a while. So if you have any issues, let us know and we'll deal with them.
Thank you.
So,
All right, good luck now.
thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, they're all good. Next order of business is Woodland Cove, Dakota Properties.
Yeah, George was supposed to have typed up his comments on the last, I was waiting for him to supply those. He didn't.
When is this supposed to be to the Board of Appeals? Next week, right?
Well, the Board of Appeals is meeting this week on it, but it's gonna be continued.
Well, didn't we at least let them know that we were against it and had comments?
I think we endorsed Charlie's comments, didn't we?
Yeah, you did. But there were also specific comments that had been,
Right, but those were sent out.
no, they weren't.
They weren't.
George was supposed to draft them up,
That's right.
and so we can package them up, send them
But
out.
I guess my question, Ken, is that knowing that we had comments against the thing, did you at least tell zoning that we had comments against it, or you didn't?
We haven't met on it yet.
Okay, so zoning has no idea what our 2 cents is, so we.
Oh, I'm pretty sure they do.
Okay.
What is the procedure here? Because Charlie's letter is very well detailed with all these issues that he raises. What is our role regarding the response to this?
Well, he reviews the drawings, he reviews the application, and he gives us, or zoning, his engineering opinions. We as a board take those and either you accept them or you comment on them or what have you. You know, Mark might agree on one, I might agree on one, you disagree, and we hash those out. Charlie, over the years that I've known Charlie, and you're talking almost 20 years, he kind of goes by the numbers in the book, and he tells you section this, section that, they're missing this, they're missing that. Like the one applicant tonight, none of the drainage was on there, none of the engineering was on there, none of the septic was on. Oh, we'll give it to you. Well, when are you going to give it to him? So stuff like that, he lets us know. So yeah, when he's detailed and he has a lot of comments like that, it's our responsibility either to endorse it or not, or comment on it. Same thing when I was on zoning, you'd get a letter from Charlie for different things that he'd be the town engineer on, and you'd comment on it, accept it, or differ from it. So that's our responsibility, really, is to take that list and either agree with it or and pass it on to the other board and say, yeah, we agree with all these comments, or we disagree for.
I looked at the plan and went through Charlie's letter, and I'm in total agreement with the
Right.
points he raises.
Right.
So this is what we pass on to the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's-
Yeah, so that's all, and that was my comment to Ken just now. Does zoning know that we agree with Charlie's comments and that we're against this in other items that George was gonna type up?
Basically, whatever
Not
George,
formally, yeah.
whatever George is gonna type up, it just reinforces basically what Charlie said.
Right, right.
I
That,
agree
you know,
with
we're
you.
on board.
Yeah, I think it's too big.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Some of these 40Bs are just, it's, you know, we'll ask for 170 units and we'll take 100. You know, a good example is over on Main Street. They wanted 88 units. 6 months later, I said to them, look, cut it in half, you get a permit tonight. Oh, okay, all of a sudden, 40 units worked. Who's kidding who, you know? It's like an applicant comes in, they say, I want 10 houses. Oh, no, I can't do it for 8. Yeah, they can, you know? So, it's,
And also, in this situation, it's not up to us to ask the applicant for example, one of the things that puzzled me as I was reading it is that there are 3 different ownerships, and how is coordination of management and
Well, that's-
security? But that's not up to us to ask, to get the answer, it's up to the ZBA.
well, it's up to the ZBA, but it's also up to you as a professional businessman for all those years. You spot something like that, you bring it up, and you say, this doesn't make sense to me. My personal 2 cents, I see it in Cambridge a lot, you know, there's 5, 6, 7 owners, and by the time you get the permit, oh, no, they're all gone. It was all financing, it was all who's gonna put up to get it started. Once they get rolling, all the deadbeats float away, so it's a very legitimate question, where there's 3 entities, and they're gonna start over here, and then they're not gonna start until that one's done, and how do you crisscross lots of land to, you know, you finish so many houses over here, and now you gotta cut across it to get to the other. It's kind of dumb, but it's comments that they need to hear, because they may not be looking at the same list of comments that you are. So, and I only say that from zoning. Over the years, you'd get comments from different boards, and you say, well, I never noticed that. Other times you did, you know, you knew it, but it doesn't hurt, you know. Sometimes when you're staring at something for such a long period of time, you're focused on what you're focused on, and someone else catches all the other details that come in, so.
And don't mind if you repeat something, because that just reinforces that it is an important issue. So do you want to have a work session on comments, or do you want to go ahead with basically that you support the comments of the town consulting engineer?
Well, I support every comment in here, after looking at the plan.
Right, I think what we can do is add a little bit more about the concept of it being too big as well.
Not only that, but they're ugly.
They're ugly
Wow,
and,
it's, yeah, you gotta keep something in mind, though, as an architect. You're not here to design it for them. They have an architect, like these people had an architect. So I understand that, no, but I understand you know, we had people in the past, realtors, oh, well, that won't sell. Remember, if it's a real ugly building, you can say something, but
No, I understand.
Yeah,
And
you know,
I'll tone down my reaction.
Yeah.
The scale is way off,
oh, yeah.
and again, if you were to see that in 3D, you would be more surprised.
And that's, you know, I tell you, I couldn't agree with you more in all the years I've sat on these boards, which this is my last, by the way. But needless to say, is you see that little 3D picture? Showed you that whole liquor store in 2 seconds. And you can't get any of them that come here to give you that. Yet they tell you, oh, all the plans we've drawn and all the money I've spent, and you can't take the building and it's all on CAD. So of course they can, and you should stick to your guns and get the look of it. Now, to change the look of it, now you're becoming an architect and you're trying to design their project. That's a different comment. But getting that look, I think you guys should fight for it every single time. I think you really should, because the neighbors come in and they say, oh, you're gonna build this big, huge liquor store. Well, if you show them that, oh, that's not a bad-looking building. I think that's the point that you've made, you should stick with it. I think, on any building. even a metal space building that's in our bylaws or in our rules, that, get a picture of it, because they can be adjusted, you know? Oh, we'll add some stone to it. In the meantime, it's just a big tin can that they gave you a picture of.
They just put a 5-bay one up on 58 in Carver,
Yeah.
South Carver.
Yeah.
It looks piss, I'll tell you.
I don't know. I think this, I think Manny's point, one of the first nights he sat here, was we should take that section and rewrite it. Because all it says is metal buildings, this building, that building, and then,
Well, that's something, you know, let's backtrack a little bit, John. For years, we've been talking about putting some kind of design review in there. We wanted to start an industrial park, and like I said, every time it goes a little bit, it either dies out or gets beat up. Here's a good example where it reinforces that we have to have something in there. Otherwise, every other week, you're gonna have Joe the Dunce come in here and says, I wanna put a building, and it says, I can do this, and it doesn't say I can't do it.
right.
You can't stop me.
Right.
And that's it.
Well, you heard the comment tonight. Doesn't show that in zoning, doesn't show that here, doesn't show it there, so how do you fight it, you know? It's,
You know, a 10-foot stink pipe in the front yard,
well, it's,
that's,
again, they put an arborvitae, they put something with it, aesthetically, it goes away, but it's there. It's, yeah, you look at the Chinese place down across from Sullivan's Liquors, he had to raise the thing and throw the two pipes. It looks stupid, but it works, you know, you kind of pay no attention to it once you, but we can hide it.
Unless you put it on sewer, that's what you're gonna deal with.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
How do we convey to the ZBA then that the project is too large? I mean, too many units?
By saying it just like that.
Just, well, wasn't that one of George's comments? Mike, do you remember his comments? He had like a list of a half dozen things he was jotting down, and I think the number of units was one of them. I'm pretty sure.
Well, there wasn't enough parking spots to support the
the
project.
phasing,
And the phasing was the next big
traffic
thing.
flow.
Right.
This whole thing could go belly up after phase one.
Oh,
Yeah,
exactly.
right,
Exactly. That's,
But I thought I saw an email with these comments on there.
Not from George.
no, I didn't see it yet, Mark. There was,
No, he came into the office and he had handwritten comments. He said he was gonna go back and type them out.
Oh, but, no, wait a minute. These comments are on the tail end of these minutes right here. That's why I just read them. Where's those minutes we approved, the 26th?
But I would, if I may, for a couple of minutes, John, just to discuss with you. No, I don't want to design their buildings, but all professionals.
These are basically the comments, I think, right?
Have an obligation,
to say something, yeah.
not only, on their part, to offer something which is compatible or respectful of the environment in which they are building. And I'm not embarrassed to say that this building is ugly, but I don't want them to redesign, it's just what it is, it's ugly. And there's nothing we can do about it, but we could do something about its size and the density. But I do think that there is an obligation on the part of applicants to be considerate of what they're putting into an area, and it's our role to say this is appropriate and this is not. These guys responded beautifully, and it's a very nice building. I don't want to design it, I'm just,
Yeah, no,
feel that the town
I
deserves-
understand, but I just,
And I appreciate your
my
comment.
2 cents was that I hear you different nights, well, can you change this, can you change? I say to myself, they're paying an architect, let's not redesign the wheel. You're probably a higher class than, they're just looking to build something cheap and.
you're being very kind. I don't mean it that way, and I just, it's
No, I
just,
know.
the town needs to be improved, and
They do, and I think that the design review paragraph in the thing, Mike, I think it really should go in there.
point well taken, thanks.
It's just gonna, Mike, it's just gonna make it easier for the members in the future to say, no, see, you gotta come in and we gotta go over the design.
Well, I guess
Do it.
if George doesn't come in with typed up comments, I can take the comments from the
Take 'em
minutes of the
right off the
meeting.
minutes, the back
Yeah, I
page.
think they did a good job of capturing exactly the discussion here.
And type these up as a referral letter.
Yeah.
All right, we can do it that way.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so we're happy with Woodland. We get that under control. Another order of business is appointing a Serped representative. I think George is the representative now.
Is he? He has been for a while, hasn't
He
he?
has been,
Yes. I think we should reappoint him.
Second.
since he's not here.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Love that. Ken, you can notify him.
I guess the next one on the list is the bituminous concrete facility in Rochester. And we were notified that the Rochester Planning Board has issued a site plan approval.
And I didn't realize it was going on that long. Wow.
I get a question on that. Maybe someone can answer it for me. Let me find that.
The Harris Rebar Building is the repair shop for the MBTA. That's where all their trains have been coming down. They got all the gypsies from all over the country come down. They've been working here for 2 years.
Really?
Yeah, that's right next, right between this site and the other plant that's here now. Remember Harris Rebar?
Yeah.
That big metal building, because they can drive the trains right inside. If you go down County Road, you look at that railroad crossing, you see all the trains backed up going to CMAS. And of course, the union guys are all in the city, the T guys. These guys, all scabs from Illinois, Chicago, they come out for like 6, 8 weeks at a whack, fixing all them cars and locomotives in there.
There you go. So I got a question on this letter, Ken, from Edgewood, Dear Town Administrator Sullivan. It goes on to throw in several projects have been approved in the vicinity since Edgewood first proposed the asphalt facility. For instance, Progressive Growers has provided a fertilizer and agricultural supply distribution center. This distribution center will become 6 7,200 square foot buildings. Is that the one in Wareham, or is that something they're building in Rochester?
Another one.
That's a different one.
They bought the property right across from RF Moss where they used to be,
Right,
the Roby property.
Yep.
It goes right to Kings Highway, right into the power
and,
lines.
all right, so that's where those are going.
Yeah.
But see, you know, not for nothing, and here's something that you can take up in the future, but of 6 7,200 square foot buildings, 7,500 feet start sprinkler, and they're gonna put 6 of them at 7,200 square feet each, or they are, no names involved, just the square footage. That's wrong, and that's the stuff, board members, we shouldn't allow. 6 of them?
Well,
You know what I mean?
The
So you're squeezing the law for 300 feet, and you get away with it 6 times on the same lot.
well, the best part about it is the water protection or fire protection comes from Wareham, because it goes to CMAS, goes right by their property.
Yeah, well, that's the stuff that irks me, is when I see that stuff, because I understand they might come along with one building and say, I really need X amount of square feet, but I'll go to 7,200 feet because I beat the thing, but now I'm gonna put another one and a third one in the future. No, now you're up to 14, 21, whatever thousand feet with no sprinkler. I find it wrong, and that should be changed.
You
One
can't
is-
partition it.
What's
No.
that? Well, I understand, but what I'm saying to you is one is one thing. But I want to build 6 of them on this lot, and they're all just under. That's just wrong. Morally wrong, I guess you could say. It's legal, but it's just morally wrong. You're bypassing a law, and you're cheating all the way along. All 6 buildings just underneath, so you don't have to put sprinkler in. And you're storing fertilizer or wood or whatever it is that you might store in it, that's just wrong. Sorry, it's my opinion. It's just my opinion, that's all.
Well, that's interesting. I don't know what if we can affect code through zoning.
Probably
through
can't.
Special permits.
Probably can't, you know, there's some legal questions gotta be asked, but you know what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
If they come in with a lot and they want one building and they squeeze it under and they say 7,200 feet, but I'm gonna put 6 on this lot, and they're all just under, I don't have to do any sprinkler, well, you know, you're talking over 4,000 feet of storage space with no sprinkler now. See the difference, Mike? Like, my personal opinion is now it's not 7,200 feet, it's 4,000. I mean, it's 40,000 feet by the time you're done, so.
So on this letter, do you want to submit comments to the MEP office on that, requiring the facility to undergo the MEPA review?
What do you think? I mean, it's,
I mean, what's the
I don't-
impact in our town? Is this the increased traffic?
Yeah.
I mean, this is all that I see we have grounds to comment on. This is for Rochester to,
Well, we supply the fire protection for CMAS. And I say it again, right up the street, because when CMAS went in there, they had a problem. They're in the furthest corner of Rochester. Wareham put a water main that runs down there for fire suppression at CMAS. Of course, if he's gonna sprinkle this thing, we're gonna cover that one too.
yeah.
You know, so in other words, our budding towns are gonna do the development, they're gonna get all the capital gains, and we're gonna help, carry
Pay
that
for
front.
services.
Yeah,
Well, you get the water bill, right?
well, with the sewer plant, not the sewer plant, the trash mounds in Carver, we get the trash for it, and we had, Ray Pickles picked everybody's pockets.
That could turn out bad, I think, that whole case.
It's not through yet.
Where is the next site for the landfill? It's Wareham, isn't it?
Well,
Wasn't that the
They
deal?
made that mountain bigger, yeah.
How much bigger can you make it?
There's a lot, you been up there lately?
Well, yeah, and I mean, they're still dumping raw trash up the top
Yeah,
of it.
you know.
It's not-
What do you do when you get a pyramid? You go up 10 feet in the base,
Well, I mean,
you're in that business.
they're to the toe of the cranberry bogs behind it now.
Oh, well, part of that cranberry bog's gone. They're encroaching in there now.
But I thought that there had to be, at a certain time, a new piece of land for the landfill for that tri-town thing, and I thought Wareham was next in line. Where are they gonna put it? You know what I mean? If
Yeah.
they say that's the height we can go, that's the depth we can go, we're done, who's up next? And I think that went back all the way to the selectman, Renee, remember the little girl was the selectman, and the other
yeah,
lady,
Renee
she's a
Abbott, yeah.
Realtor now. It'll come to me.
Cindy Chamberlain.
Chamberlain. I think they were selectmen at the time, and I was watching the hearing one night, and they were talking about where next, that's how long ago it came up, that Wareham's gotta come up with a piece of land for this landfill, and,
It's been a sleeping giant for a long time.
yeah, so. Well, we'll see what happens. Well, Mr. Chairman, the last thing on the new business, if you don't mind, is I had told the chairman and Ken that June would be it for me, and I think you said you found somebody that you.
Somebody submitted an application
Okay.
for taking a position on the board.
All right, so do you need me to stay till June, or you don't need me to stay till June?
Need you to stay until somebody replaces you.
Okay, all right.
Do we get to see the application of the applicants? We did in the past. It seems like in the last 5 or 6 years, that's gone to the wayside, or it's just forgotten about. It makes it nice sometime to see, who's coming on the board and, what they bring to the board.
Right.
And,
I think the last
I
time
don't
we
know if
had
I
some
brought the
input was, it was right after you. I think it was Bob Brady.
Oh, is that what it was? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh,
All right.
Mr. Chris. Mr. Chris was.
He wanted to get on too, yeah. So, I had no problem hanging in there till June, but if something comes up and you have somebody else, I'd be fine to step aside early. Doesn't matter, it's just, working in Cambridge, I don't get home nights till 5, 6 o'clock, and
Where are you working in Cambridge?
start a job on Lansdowne Street. So I'm starting that next
Office
week.
was in, do you know where the Crate and Barrel building is?
Yeah,
I was there for 25 years.
No kid- what
In the-
street is that?
In the mid-rise, that brick building.
yeah, what's the name of that street?
Mass Avenue.
Oh, right on Mass
Corner
Ave.
of Mass Avenue and Remington.
Yeah, that's a little further over, yeah.
Yeah.
Cambridge boys, yeah, I knew it. Try getting a variance in Cambridge.
Oh, I don't work there anymore.
No, I'm just saying, try getting one over there.
Cambridge was always considered their own unique.
People's Republic
Zip
of
code.
Cambridge. I
Yeah.
mean, you just can't, 8 months, 9 months, get a variance. And that's if they hold the hearing.
So I can get you a copy of the application from the selectman's office.
Yeah, that's,
in the, let you see what the appointing authority will be considering.
Also, Ken, when I first was appointed, whoever typed the form made a mistake, and my term ended this June. And I called it to their attention, and the card that I now have says June 2020. But in the town records on the website, I'm
I'll check that out.
supposed to be off next June with John.
Okay,
So if you want me around, correct that, will you?
all right.
I started in like 95. That's enough public service, Mike.
We'll miss you.
Yeah, like a toothache.
No, you know what? No. For young kids for new kids on the block like me, your institutional knowledge and memory is critical, because,
You still got Mike.
oh yeah.
I'm too dumb to leave.
And George?
So you let me know, Ken,
Yeah, let you know as soon as it happens.
I'll keep showing up until you tell me to get out.
Speaking of showing up, we have the meeting before town meeting, potentially, if they can get their act together. So, do you also want to reconsider your vote on the definition of a lot?
I think there's some serious concerns with, that's why I voted no, is because I think Emmanuel's correct, and I think Mark was correct. But to move it on, you guys approved the minutes, I understand that. But to let that go, and the town meeting, when they read that, and they say, oh, the planning board went along with it, it's not true. The planning board really isn't going along with it. I think that should be worded somehow, that we should have reconsideration of that word.
That was, I think when we went over the definitions, I think it kind of like the paper got slipped underneath, or it kind of slipped through.
Yeah.
We didn't really see the true meaning of it. And when we did catch it in the minutes, Dave come right up and said, hey, well, you guys basically agreed on this and that. Oh, we got questions with it,
Yeah.
let's clear it up before it gets to town meeting floor.
Yeah.
Because if you bring that up on town meeting floor to try to clarify that, I'll tell you, it's gonna be a bloodbath.
Well,
Talk about confusing.
Well, what wind up happening is the old adage at the Wareham town meeting was further study. I mean, you just need to make that motion and go from there, because you're absolutely right, and Mark was right. And people are gonna look at that and go, why have a 99-year lease, and in 49 years I'm out? What happened? So,
So what's,
It doesn't take you out of the lease. All it does is say you don't have standing under zoning as owner.
So the original owner, you gotta go back to them to get approval, or he has to submit for the modifications.
That's
or
right.
whatever. He might be dead and gone.
Yeah.
Now you're talking, maybe he got 20 years.
Or uncooperative.
or,
Yeah, yeah.
Because to my example, let's go back to the golf course.
Oh,
At 49 years, you have to go back to the landowner at that point. He says, I hate golf. I'm gonna bulldoze that thing and put up
I
condominiums.
can get
He can't
174
bulldoze-
units in
he can't
there.
bulldoze it Because you have a lease. You have a lease arrangement, and you can't break that lease unless you have some other consideration.
But that's a civil lawsuit at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, the town through law has enabled that guy to take control of that property again.
Yeah. That's-
They can't give control of the property. All they can do is say that you don't have the standing as the owner.
who said that mess?
Under
Perez?
zoning.
Perez's family probably come out of the woodwork.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, is they could come back after the 49 years and say, they don't have standing, the lease is the owner, we're the owner of the land, and we don't want that anymore. And to Mark's, I think it was your point, what does that leasee or lessor, however you say that, the guy leasing the land, what does he do now when the new owner's, I don't
You'd be better off just saying the town does not recognize any lease beyond 50 years. 50 years is terminated.
Then the question to you is, do you want, since you don't like the definition the way it is in the town meeting warrant, do you want to ask for indefinite postponement of that section?
Okay, we
Do you want to,
we gotta be careful. If, what is it, further study or indefinite, can't come back for 2 years as written. Am I right, John?
Yeah, I'm not up on how that works with the 2 years as written. So there would have to be changes to the verbiage to come back within 2 years.
and it'd be up to the planning board to make that determination, and it would change significantly enough.
Yeah. Yeah,
We got resources, we can
It's two-
get town
it's 2
council
years,
involved
Mark,
if we
but I
have
think
to
if they
clarify
change
the
the wording,
language,
you can come back
if you
within
feel
the 2 years.
uncomfortable with it.
No,
Oh, whatever.
well, one question I have is, why do we need the language in the definition of a lot? That- I don't see the connection.
It's a
between-
private matter.
Pardon?
It's a private matter.
Yeah.
I mean, why should we should never get to a point where we're not holding the landowner, the ultimate taxpayer for that land, accountable for the land. The mechanism for the private arrangement is the lease.
So do you want to withdraw the article? Do you want to submit an amendment?
Whatever is easiest, I mean,
I think my feeling is our definition of lot should be consistent with whatever the definition on Massachusetts definition of a lot is. That's it. I mean, no more stringent than what the definition of Massachusetts definition is.
I agree with you.
So if what you read to us earlier was like most of our bylaws are adopted from the Massachusetts structure, if that is the Massachusetts definition, then that's what it remains.
I'll have to check and see where that definition comes from,
Yeah, it doesn't
because
sound-
that doesn't necessarily fit with, there isn't necessarily a definition of lot.
I stand by that. There's probably a point that David wants to make there for the town to have some type of measurement on a lease agreement, but it's not the definition of a lot. It's the definition of an acknowledged lease.
but why does the town have to get involved in the private matter between two people or two entities? It's not the town's.
Well, only because you want to have, a hands-off owner would say, who's the original owner of the lot that Walmart's on? Is that Robinson's?
No, Toby.
Toby.
Well, but
Toby says,
Robinsons bought it, didn't they?
right.
Yeah.
Okay, so Robinson's owner says, hey, Walmart, you want a 99-year lease, that's fine. Anything you need to do with getting agreement from the town as far as zoning goes, that's on you. Alls I want is X number of dollars a month from you for the next 99 years. So, I mean, it's a, I guess, a risk transfer to the person leasing the property. So, but why are we involved in that process? That's a, right, they could have easily turned around and said, hey, Robinsons, I'll pay you to represent me so I can get the Walmart built. And they would have been glad to take their money.
Well, one of the concepts in the state law is that there are lots in common ownership. And if you have combined lots in common ownership, that they're adjacent to each other, that there's a concept called merger, where they're pulled
merger
together
doctrine,
if they remain too small and for too long under single ownership. The question of ownership is important then, in that question of whether or not there's a merger.
But the vehicle to get around that is checkerboarding,
Well,
okay?
Right.
yeah.
That's gone through, I've seen that happen more times. Usually when it comes in, was it New England Wildlife Trust? It's the biggest scam going. I got 100 acres on the water. I cut out 5 acres, I make 10 house lots. One's in my name, one's in my wife's name. They checkerboard the whole thing. And I get all them tax credits for it.
Yeah.
And everybody else gets crabs and ice water.
Yep.
And of course, New England Wildlife Trust, they can do whatever they want with the land after.
Right,
They're worse than the Audubon Society.
right.
We have the wealthy come and do that all the time on things that,
Should have seen the battles Mike Martin when he was on zoning with the
Yeah.
contiguous ownership and the checkerboard. Oh, man, he fought that
Yeah.
stuff tooth and nail, and he was right.
So obviously, there's a history on this idea of
Oh, yeah.
contiguous ownership and common ownership.
Yeah.
And this is one way of defining what that ownership issue is.
it's a Pandora's box, I guarantee you that.
Yeah.
I see a lot, LOT, being defined by physical bounds, meets and bounds, with an address, period. I don't care who owns it. Does it matter who owns it?
Yes, it does. Under if you have an issue dealing with common ownership, that's what I'm saying. Under state law, there's a merger standard where lots are merged together. Undersized lots are merged together if they're in common ownership.
But is that in that description, the merger doctrine thing there? No.
No, it's,
No, so
No,
that
but
would
it's-
even expand.
it's specifying on the ownership.
Yeah, I don't know,
What does the state,
That's why ownership is in there as an issue.
okay.
I mean, it's in our
Well, can you
existing,
just see if
it's in our existing definition.
your point,
in
Mark,
common
was
ownership.
if all that 99 years and 49 years is in the state, we go with it. If it isn't, you got a problem with it.
I think it's a safe thing to do. You know, again, the lease is a legal mechanism and, you know, I think the town should be dealing with the property owner of the lot. They are the ultimate responsible party in this thing. If some guy says, I'll lease you this property, Emmanuel, for $10,000 a month at 10 acres. Okay, what are you gonna do with it, Emmanuel? I'm gonna put up a space building on them, storage. You turn around and you turn it into a construction recycling facility, you better believe that owner's gonna step back into that conversation. He doesn't care if there's 1 year left on that lease. And the town's not gonna approve that. So, you know, we're, in essence, we're saying that we don't have to deal with the property owner if there's a lease in place.
See if it matches the state one. If it matches the state one, I agree with them. If it doesn't match the state one, I agree with Emmanuel. We need to reword it.
Do you want to reword it, or do you want to pull it?
Well, I think it's pretty simple to say, the warrant offers this definition. Here on the floor tonight is to adopt this definition or to adopt the state's definition. And that can be the vote. And I don't think it's gonna generate that much discussion.
Yeah, either they go with what's printed or they go with the proposed change.
And that the board's recommendation is to stay with the state's definition, if it's different. If it's not, then there's no reason to have any discussion. That is the state's definition.
Fair enough with me. You gonna be at town meeting, Mike?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go. I went last time to the special one. I stopped going to town meetings for a while because
So did I.
they were getting a little out of control.
It was pretty smooth.
No, not pretty smooth. Well, the last one did, yeah. But it seemed like we were going through a trend that special interest groups were running amok. And what really turned me off the last one, we had a temporary police chief. When he got there, like mass chaos pounding his fist, we don't want them kind of people in town and junk. It was time to vacate the premises. And he wasn't even a resident. And people ate that shit up. That was garbage. Really was. I mean, that's, you know, it was the wrong place. Was you there when he was there?
I was there.
And then, of course, right after that, he didn't get his raise, so he had a heart attack supposedly, and he went out on disability.
Well, there's a lot more to that story than when he sat before us to take the job. He said, I got 3 years. You want me for 3 years, that's fine. And that was the agreement. So he was coming in for 36 months.
Yeah.
No matter what.
He was double dipping.
That's fine. You can get into all that.
To
but-
get back to the
So then he gets
item
sick.
on the agenda,
John started that.
why don't I do the research on the state definition, see if there's something there on this, on the state law?
Yeah.
Is that something we can ask Rich Bowen his opinion on?
You could.
You could.
Well, why don't he get a definition first,
Yeah, okay.
and then
Yeah,
we'll look at it. If we're satisfied, we don't have to go. If we're not, we'll
Right.
take that as the
Are
next
we
step.
allowed to communicate outside of this meeting?
As long as there's not three of yous there.
Yeah, you just call Ken or email. You can
Okay,
email
okay.
questions around.
All right, okay, that's fine.
So that satisfy you, Ken?
Yeah, that'd be fine. We'll
Okay.
proceed that way.
So that about cleans up the agenda, right?
Yep.
Make a
Entertain a
motion that
motion
we
to
adjourn the
adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I heard a motion.
Second.
I heard a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, Bob.